Hi everyone, welcome back to RTS and welcome back to another segment of Rearrange the Stuff. Yes, and you can tell what we're going to do. Thickers and thickers, and we're going to talk a lot about thickers today. Yes. So now I know when it comes to organizing, some people just want to know what container you're organizing and be done. Okay, well, hang on in a few minutes, and in the beginning I'll share what container I use, and I have had success with this. I've absolutely conquered this beast, so I'm very happy with it. Okay, but there's some things you need to think about, and there's a thought process about everything we do, and organizing is one of them. So I think for a lot of us, we get stuck in this category. And I know a lot of my subscribers have asked me about how do I organize thickers, and then also too, a couple of my subscribers, Terry and Carolyn, have asked me specific questions that they're needing some help with concerning thickers and then using thickers. So I have a whole 2-page of notes, my friends. Yes, so we're going to have a lot of talk. But if you want to just know what I'm going to use, hang on. We're going to talk about that in the very beginning. Okay, so when it comes to organizing thickers, let's just get started, roll up our sleeves, and crack the whip. Yes, what we're going to do. When you're organizing thickers, there's one thing you have to consider right off the bat is, first of all, are you going to store them in a vertical format, or are you going to do it horizontal? Okay, and why does that make a difference? Well, that makes a whole heap of difference when you're buying a container. And I will tell you, as scrapbookers and crafters, we do this exactly opposite of what we're supposed to do. We should consider and take an inventory of our inventory, take an assessment of our stash. How much do we have of this product? And then think about what container we need according to our space and how much we have. But what we do exact opposite. We see a cute bin. We see a cute basket. Oh, that looks good. Oh, IKEA's got a sale. And then that's what we do. We buy containers and then we try to make our supplies fit. No, we have to change that, okay? And I will tell you, once I realized that, it has really helped in my scrap space, okay? So for you and your thickers, do you want to store them this way, or do you want to store them this way? And that comes down to basically what type of space do you have and how much space do you have for your thickers, okay? If you want to put them in a drawer, this might work or this might work. You have to decide where in your space is this going to land, and then what container will fit. And then that will determine if you're going vertical or horizontal. Now, over the years, you know, I've been at this game a long time, over 2 decades. So I have learned a few things. And for me, I have learned that when I was storing these vertically, okay, these type of bins, this is what we buy. We all buy them. Now, pretend that this actually fits a, you know, thickers. This isn't wide enough because I don't like tapered containers. No. You see how that's tapered? That doesn't work in organizing for me. So, of course, just assume that this would fit, and you're putting your thickers in here. What happens if they're going vertical? If your container is not tall enough, what happens is you get this sagging. Yeah, that's not going to work long term. I've been there, done that. So this sagging is not going to work. So if you are going to go vertical with your thickers, make sure your container is going to be tall enough so you don't get that sagging, okay? And so then, of course, you know, we see all these other pretty bins and we just buy them and like, okay, well, now this would be kind of too wide for thickers, but that's okay. You're not going to get too much sagging, but you're going to still get some, okay? So if you're going vertical, definitely make sure that you're going to go over this 6 inches in height. Okay, you just have to. If you could get 8 inches, that would be good, okay? But then they would also go this way too. And this works beautiful. But the problem we run into is, who just has that amount? You see what I'm saying? Okay, so that is one thing you have to consider. Are you going vertical or are you going horizontal? Okay, I want to talk about that right off the bat. So the first thing I have to say is, if you are going to organize thicker, or say this is alphas in general, okay, but thickers is the one we're talking about today. You absolutely need to know how many you have before you start looking at what container you need. Okay, and so once I decided to realize and bite the bullet and yes, face the music and have a come to Jesus meeting about how many I had, then I finally found the container that worked for me and in my price range, okay? Because I don't have an IKEA. I have to order things online. So know your amount before you start doing any shopping. You just simply have to. I know it's kind of hard. We don't want to know how many of these we have when it gets into the 3-digit. I know, we've all been there, okay? But you have to. If you want to organize them and then use them, you might as well get them organized and contained correctly. Okay, so Okay, so let's talk about organizing these, and I think that these really go well in the horizontal, okay? But again, just pay attention. If you're going vertical, go tall with that container. So one of my subscribers, Brenda Sanson, she shared with me, we were just having some chit-chat, that she found a way for her that she organizes her thickers, and I want to share that right off the bat because I actually had one, okay? And she had told me that she really liked these 12 by 12 photo boxes from Hobby Lobby. And that's just what it is, just a 12 by 12 photo box. Now, this is different than the ones I have at Michael's because at Hobby Lobby, they're much deeper. And that makes a difference, okay? And it was just coinkydink that I actually had one of these, okay? And this is what it is. It's $6.99. Of course, you know, wait till they're on sale, half off, $3.50. You get a storage 12 by 12 box, okay? And so then what she was telling me is that she stores them this way. Okay, now I have these headers on here, so just don't pay attention to that, okay? And so that's how she stores them, okay? She just puts them in this box, and this is how... That's what it would look like. So you have enough there. It would really, really work. And I'm telling you what, for $3.50, Brenda, that's a really good idea. I mean, look at that. You could really get a lot in there, okay? If you had the shelf space for that, okay? So keep that in mind too. A container is a container, but if you don't have the space for it, then it's a wasted container, okay? So thank you, Brenda, for sharing that. But I will have to say that if you're going to order online, it doesn't matter what kind of company you go with, okay? You have to consider that what you get is not maybe what you would have selected in the store. Meaning, if I flip this photo box over, now I've had this for a few months, okay? If I flip this over, look what I have. You see all this damage here, okay? Yeah, now would I have got that at the store? No, but when I order online, you get what you get, okay? So ordering online sometimes has its downfalls, okay? So just keep that in mind. I don't like that, but, you know, what are you going to do? $3.50, who can complain? But anyways, I wanted to share that because Brenda had just recently told me about that, and it was in another video, and so you may already have one of those. But again, I'll say that those 12 by 12 photo boxes from Hobby Lobby is deeper than the ones from Michael's. So keep that in mind because the deeper your box is, the better these will stand and work for you. Okay, now, how do I organize mine, and how did I finally attack this beast? Okay, I use, and I'm looking at my notes. Okay, I want to make sure I go by my notes because, you know, I go down the rabbit hole. Okay, I use a collapsible bin. Okay, now I researched and I have went through many things, but I found a collapsible bin on Amazon, very affordable, and it's a collapsible bin. So then if you decide later on you don't want to use it, it's easy to store away to use for another project. Okay, so you basically open this up. Look at the nice handles. That's what I needed. I was looking for something that had a handle and it was lightweight, because I'll tell you why. Okay, so then this is the way it comes. Collapsible, unfold it, bing, bang, boom. Put in your liner, and that is how simple that is. Okay, now this size is a 6 by 11 by 11. Okay, so you know it's going to fit thickers. Okay, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, now the price range is about $5 to $7. There's different colors. I just went with this kind of like an ivory butter color because that matches my room. I don't really care for the inside. That looks like about 2004, but no one's going to see that. I could care less. For $5 to $7, I can afford this. This is great. Okay, so again, got from Amazon. I have the link below. Okay, now how many thicker packs will this collapsible bin fit? And I counted just for you. 70 to 75 thicker packs is what this will hold. Okay, now I needed something for a handle because this is going up on a top shelf. It's lightweight, so I'm not very tall, so I need something that when it's on a top shelf, it's light. And so it has handles. Even with 70 to 75 thickers, it's not very heavy. Oh, happy with that. And another thing is, and I'll show you one that's full here, because, you know, I had to pull props, right? Okay. So, this is full. And the best thing about this is, and again, 70 to 75, that's about rough. It depends on sometimes if you get thicker, you know, chunkier thickers, you know, you have to accommodate for that. But the best thing about that is that these can stack on one top if you needed to, okay? So I have about 5 or 6 of these. So I have a couple, you know, on my top layer, I have 2 resting on these other ones. And they don't sag, they don't bend, no nothing. So if you had to stack 2 on top of each other, it definitely would work, okay? I wouldn't stack no more than 2, but they do work. So I'm happy with that because that's what I needed as well. Okay, so I wanted to show that. And look at that. There's 70 to 75 thickers contained, about $7, and it's not even heavy. Yes, yes, come to mama. I love that. Okay. So now, within this collapsible bin, what do I do with my thickers? Okay, now you got a visual of that. Okay, this is what it looks like. Handles, absolutely. There's a little thing here. You pull up your liner, and it collapses. It doesn't get any easier than that. No, no. And they even had them in black too. So what I would suggest, and this is what I did a few years ago, is I ordered one to see if I liked it, to see whether it was, you know, comparable for the price. And I decided to end up going with this color, but originally I ordered a black one, but I like this. So definitely try one first, see if you like it. But to house 70 or 75 alphas, you just can't beat that. No, it's better than going through 3 or 4 different types of bins and baskets. And you know what I'm talking about because we've all done that. Okay, so now let's talk about actually organizing is to, like, you just have some thicker packs and you want to get them corralled. What are we going to do? And I'm looking at my notes here, so I'm just going to give you something pretty to look at for a minute because I can get off track. Okay, so then when you have these thicker packs, and there's nothing wrong with these cellophane packs, but you have to keep in mind that this is not a permanent housing home. It's not a permanent home for these. It's just marketing. It's just a package, okay? This is not something that's going to stay long term, and we know because the sides have ripped, these have ripped, and then trying to get them back in and out with this sticky bottom, you know, that doesn't work, okay? We all have been there. So that's why we look at organizing thickers. And so a lot of us over the years, and I have some new subscribers, so that's why I'm sharing all this. I have new people to scrapbooking is what I mean. And so that a lot of us use these 6x12 baggies, okay? And again, these come from Walmart. I'm so sorry. Amazon, yes. Okay. Yeah, order something from Walmart and see how quick you get it. Yeah, I don't have luck with Walmart. Okay, so again, these bags came from Amazon. And I'll have the link below. They are 6x12 size. I got the 2 milliliter size. You get 100 of these bags for around $10, okay? Not very expensive, no, okay? Especially if you have a friend and you could share them. However, I would say most of us will need 100 back, okay? Or near 100 pack, I'll put it that way. So you simply just open this up and put it in a 6x12 baggie, okay? Easy peasy. Nothing wrong with that, okay? And the bonus is that they're easy to get in and out, okay? And I'm going to have a few more tips and tricks as far as, you know, coming up. So just hang on for some more, okay? And so I'm looking at my notes. Yes, okay. So now some people would say, well, that all looks well and good, but I don't even know what the name of them is now. And for me, I don't need to know the name, and I just don't need that. But if you're on a design team or you do process videos and you want to include those type of information, you certainly need to know what is the name of your thicker. So what you simply can do is that, you know, once you take these out, okay, and I'm going to have a constant glare this entire video, so it is what it is, right? Okay. So, of course, we're going to put that in a 6x12 baggie. And I want to say a couple things about when you're putting thickers in and out of your bags. The first thing is, as I have learned over the years, you know, thickers do not stay on this transfer sheet very well. We're going to be talking about that in just a minute. So the easiest thing I have found is you put in one sheet at a time, okay? Because then you don't lose any, okay? So you do that, flip it over, put in the other side. I have found in order to prevent losing things and them flipping off, do it one sheet at a time, okay? So that's easy peasy. I mean, that's all you need to do. However, I want to know, say you're the type of person you want to know what this is. Well, you come over here. Now this header in this thicker is in its own individual baggie, if its own little wrapper, okay, which I find that interesting, okay? And so you just open up that top package and then you would get this header, okay? So then, of course, I have some things here. So then what you can do simply is just take this whole header, stick it in there, you're done, okay? Now I have seen where some people don't want to see it, so they would stick it in between, okay? That way you have it, but you don't see it. Totally up to you. But then this gets a little bulky because it is two-sided. You don't need both sides. So you definitely could cut that in half. Just keep the part that has the actual name, and then you could include that in your bag if you wanted. in between or in front or in back. However, it's there. You got what you needed. Okay, so that is how you simply just take them out of the container, put them in a 6x12 baggie. The link will be below for that. Really, really great bags. Now, on Amazon, they also sell 4 milliliters. So if you want a thicker bag, you can consider that as well. It's a little bit more expensive, but that's another option. Okay, and then if you're someone that you need to know that this is actually amber, you would absolutely open again. And a lot of people didn't know that's how you open that, but you just open that top. I have never removed these because I just simply, I don't need that. I just need color. I don't need to know what the name is, okay? And then, again, you could just put it in like that, cut it in half, just keep the part that you need and include it in your package. That's all you simply have to do. That is easy, okay? And this is a fun thing to do when you're watching a movie. Yes, okay. So, let me put that to the side. And let me put a few more here while I look at my notes and you're not looking at a plain desk. Okay, let's do that. Let's look at these, okay? So, okay, now when you're putting your thickers into a bag, and these are not actual thickers. These were by We Are Memory Keepers, which is now American Crafts. But sometimes consider that you may need to trim down the size of your paper, you know, the sheet that your letters are on. And so that means you may have to move them in a little bit, you know, squeeze them in, and you're going to have to cut off maybe a topper or some of the side to fit in your 6x12 bag. That doesn't happen a lot with the actual thickers, but some other chipboard like We Are Memory Keepers and things like that, some of the older ones that you do have to cut down. So keep that in your memory bank. You may have to cut that down. That's okay. No worries. It'll still fit in your 6x12 bag. Okay. And then I said, you know, put in, when you're using them, put them in one sheet at a time, and then you avoid losing some alphas. Okay, now let's go to my second page of notes. Okay, now how do I organize these as far as what kind of groups? Okay, well, for me, I'm a rainbow girl, so I want all of mine in rainbow colors, and that's how I have them in my bins. But what I start my rainbow with is my multicolor, because I have no idea. And that one we just had, what was that, amber? Yes. And what was these other two? Like this here. This one by Chamel. I would have no idea what color to put that in. No idea. Maybe green. Okay. Maybe turquoise. But I don't want them. I want them in multicolor. And I struggle with using these, but I sure like them. Okay. So then, if you want to have a multicolor, that's where you would put them, if you want to, okay? So I just have them in front of my white, and then I go into my ivory, and then my pink, red, orange, yeah, and then I go through my rainbow, okay? And then also, I wanted to show that if you have two of the same kind, say this is multi, so you definitely could put one in multi and one in like a pink coral or a green or a turquoise, whatever color you see the most. It doesn't hurt to separate this up. Why? Because then you can definitely see it twice rather than once, okay? Okay? So there's nothing wrong with splitting things up if you have more than one. Okay. Now, where would I put gold? I put gold at the end of black because that means that would be at the end of my rainbow, because in my world, the pot of gold is always at the end of the rainbow. So again, I just do them in my rainbow color. Now, to fit my bins, sometimes I may have to rearrange a few of my colors in order, because, you know, I have a allotted space. So if I would have to move a couple, instead of having my pink behind my white, I'd have to use my yellow. You just do what you need to do. You'll know basically where they are. Okay, so now if you want to if you want to know about a few more tips and tricks, and I'm going to talk about some more questions that I got from some of my subscribers, especially Terry and Carolyn. So definitely hang on, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so now let's talk about some tips and tricks when it comes to thickers, okay? And so some of the questions I got is what we're going to talk about. So one of the first things, and I just mentioned this, but I want to say this again. When you're pulling out your thickers and then you're using it and then you're putting them back, definitely put them in one sheet at a time. Because if you do it this way, inevitably something is going to get hung up on the back and something's going to pop off. So just get yourself in the habit of putting in one at a time. Okay? Flipping it over, putting the other one. It just works easier that way. Okay? Doesn't matter which one you put in first. Okay? So then, another tip, and I've shared this in some of my start to finish videos, is that when you're using alphas on your actual sheet, work from your out and work your way in. And you say, well, why would that matter at all? Because then when you go to put them back in your bags, you have less chance of something popping off, because if something pops off, it's going to be on these outer edges, okay, when you go to put them back in the bag. It's just something I've learned over the years, okay? So if you can get in the habit of working from your outside, say this was all A's, and I started with this A and I worked in with my N's, my R's, things like that. Then when I go to put them in, I have less chance of things popping off. It's just one of those little tips and tricks you learn over the years, okay? Now you can tell when you start using your alphas because your bag's starting to look, they get the wear and tear on them. That's the beauty of it. Okay, so now let's talk about the inevitable. What do you do when you have these stickers and the alphas are falling off the sheets? And that's what we're going to talk about now. Okay, so you will have some, and I know I'm getting a glare. You're going to have some sheets where there's just going to be fall off, okay? And it won't be all of them, but it'll just be some. You see what I'm saying? And it creates a nuisance. So what you can do, a quick fix, is that you simply take some wax paper and you put them on wax paper. If they'll stay on wax paper, you know, sometimes when your thickers get older, sometimes this happens, you know, they lose the adhesive, which they might not even had very good adhesive to begin with, but we won't go there, okay? And then you can put them in that wax paper, and if you have a little edge down here, like a fold, then if they would fall out, they're not going to go to the bottom of your bag, and then you just keep them in there, okay? That's how you do that, okay? So that's just with your thicker packs where a few are popping off, okay? Because you know where I'm going to go next, right? Yes. Oh, we love talking about this next one. Okay. Okay. So, see? Already popped one off. Okay. So now, let's talk about the problem child when it comes to thickers. And that is this, and this, and that. Drives me bonkers, but there are just some thicker packs. This is what you have, and I find that it's mostly the ones that are the heavier chipboard, okay? And they don't stay on the sheet. They probably never did stay on the sheet, and this is the mess you have. Okay, so what do you do? Well, you know, I'm going to give you a solution because I have done this for several years, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this hot mess, which is a worse hot mess, this one. We're going to take this hot mess and we're going to turn it into this beautiful mess. You're just like, what? How did you do that? Okay, so this is what I did. This is because I have two of these, okay? And this is the correction for this problem. And I know, Terry, you asked this question specifically. What do you do when they fall to the bottom of the container? Okay, well, first of all, if you don't have them in a bag and you had them in the original packaging, this is just absolutely horrendous. It just won't work, okay? You'll more than likely throw it in the trash. But if it's in a bag, it can be contained, and so it's not the end of the world. So we're going to talk about this, okay? So, and these are the two I'm going to work on after I'm done filming, because this, I don't like it. Don't like it. No. Okay, so what we're going to do is simply, again, I do recommend these 6x12 bags. The link will be below. So what we're simply going to do is we're going to make our own thicker backing sheet. Like, oh, well, how are we going to do that? So simple, okay? And if you watched any of my other organizing videos when it comes to stickers, you're going to know what I'm going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of cardstock, and you're going to cut it 5 3/4 by 11, okay? Now, when I say 5 3/4, I have a sliver less, okay? Because it seems like here at this bag, when you open up that bag, you're going to lose a little bit of this. So it has to be a little less than 5 3/4, just a sliver less, okay? But I put 5 3/4 by 11 just to give you a measurement. But this is a little sliver less, okay? Because if you would go 5 3/4, it's going to get hung up on this bag. Okay, so we're going to cut a piece of cardstock, and then what are we going to do? I'll just leave that there. So we're going to go from here, and we're going to work our way to here. How's that? Yes. Okay, sorry about the glare. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're just going to take a piece of cardstock, and then we're going to cut a piece of wax paper. Yes, because you know I love wax paper when it comes for stickers and chipboard. Yes, okay. So then you're going to cut your wax paper in the same amount. You're a little less than 5 3/4 by 11, or just cut your wax paper 5 3/4 by 11, and then you can always trim off the sides. Easy peasy, okay? Now, how would you adhere this wax paper? It doesn't matter which side. I use this Tombow Mono, okay? It's one of my favorite adhesives. And so then I simply would take my wax paper and I would just, in a haphazard manner, put a lot on, not put a lot, but you just don't want a dab here and a dab there. I just, you know, squiggly lines. Put that on there. And when it dries, you're going to have this. So you just made your own thicker backing sheet. Yes, that's what you did, okay? And so we're going to take this hot mess and we're going to make it look like that, okay? So that's all that is. I'm going to go over that again. As that we took a 5 3/4 by 11 piece of cardstock, not copy paper, cardstock, okay? And I just use white because I have a lot more of white than anything else. And this needs to be a sliver less than 5 3/4 to accommodate the opening of this top of this header on that bag. And then you're going to take a piece of wax paper in the same size, adhere it, try whatever glue you have, okay? Don't go buy anything. Try what you have first and see how this works. But this works awesome for me when I'm using wax paper, okay? And then I'll just leave that here so you can see that. And then this is what you get. You just get a piece of cardstock with some wax paper. And that doesn't look the prettiest, but ask me if you even care and if you even see it. You don't, okay? So that's what we did. Easy to do. It's just time consuming, but I don't mind doing this kind of busy work when I'm in the scrappy mood, but I don't feel like scrapbooking. This is what I do. So then you would just simply get all of this out, this hot mess, okay? And I'll just pull a few of these, okay? Now you see how that transfer sheet is really, needs actually cut down a tad. So you would just start, and all you're doing, there's that slang coming out, I'm sorry. You're just going to go and you're going to just start filling up your sheet. Now this is an easy set to do because it's squares. Or is that a rectangle? I think that's more like a rectangle, okay? Now, I have mine in order here only because presentation is everything. So I have mine in order. You wouldn't have to, but I know for me, when I want to scrapbook, I want things in an easy manner. So I did put mine in order. And how you do that is you just spread them out with, again, some wax paper or something that's not going to stick, and just put them in group by letters. And then you would just keep on going. And just pay attention or just think that this would be in order. Okay? And you just simply just keep filling this up. Now, I'm left-handed, so working this way doesn't work. I have to work upside down. Okay, and so then I would line these up with the edge of my paper that I had cut. I have wax paper on top of it, adhered with this mono, and then I just take my thicker, whatever that would be, and that's what I do. Okay, and you'd fill up that whole sheet. Now I will say with these chipboard, these, you get a lot in here, okay? Now, if you would have the front, this is a heavy bag. If you have the front and the back of that in one bag, it's almost too heavy, and then sometimes they can pop off. So what I do on these heavier thickers, whether it's this or some other ones, I absolutely separate them into two bags. I just keep them together, but I separate them into two bags because the weight of this, if you put two of those in one bag, it's almost too much. So sometimes don't be afraid to separate your actual thicker sheets and put them in more than one bag, okay? So that's simply how you do it, okay? And again, I'm sorry, I have to work upside down, and I would just take this, and I would fill these in, okay? Let's just look at this hot mess here. We know, we've all been there. That's a hot mess. But you don't want to throw them away. You want to use them if you have the patience. Now, here's what's going to happen sometimes, is that when they fall to the bottom of the bag, and they're stuck to one another, some will get ruined. That's just inevitable. So when you go to use this, the tip I've learned is to distress the other ones. Just take your little distressor tool or your fingernail and distress the other ones, and it'll look intentional. Not that there was something wrong. That's how I do it, because I don't want to throw anything away. And then I just keep going in a row until you fill up the sheet. Okay? And again, I would have these all in order. Okay? See? That U is on top of the V got messed up. Yeah. So then, when I go to use that V in a title, I'll distress all the other letters. That's just something I do. Why not? Try to get some use out of it. Okay, so that's what we would do. Okay, so I would show another one here, but that's how you take this and turn it into that. Just cardstock and some wax paper and some liquid glue. Absolutely. Okay, now let's move this hot mess. Okay, because I had another one here. Where did that go? There was another one here. Oh yes, this one here. I'll see if I can find it here. This. I have no desire to look for a letter if I have to deal with this. So again, I would do the same thing. I would take my cardstock, put some wax paper over it, open these up, and then I would simply just start putting these on here, okay? And I definitely would put this in the best order I could. I wouldn't be actually fanatic about it, but I would want, you know, my ABCs kind of close together, okay? And again, I work upside down. Some of you lefties know what I'm talking about. And then you just fill up that sheet. And then look, that's not going anywhere, okay? But it'll come back off, okay? But these thickers don't have enough adhesive for this slick transfer sheet, but it does have enough for this wax paper. That's the beauty of it. Love, love, love. When I happened to figure this out one day, because you know, this is how I organize my stickers. Now watch. What are we going to get? I don't know what I'm going to get. This 0 is on top of the 1. I don't think it's going to work. Well, let's see. Oh, yes. Okay. Didn't have one bad mishap. There we go. Okay. And just start filling them in. Okay. So that's the beauty, is that there's not enough adhesive for this thicker. You would think they would have this figured out by now, but we won't go there, okay? Enough people have complained about it. They still aren't listening. Okay. They don't care, okay? So, again, not enough for this, but it's enough for that. Okay, now that wasn't attached, but you see what I'm saying? That'll work. Okay, so, definitely a solution for all those alphas at the bottom of your bag, your packaging, and it's a hot mess. Okay, that's a solution. Okay, now let me put something pretty here so I can look at my notes, because I'm wondering how far I went off the trail. Okay. Oh, okay. Yes. So we fixed the hot mess. We made a do-over with that cardstock and that wax paper. Okay, now another question that Terry asked me specifically was, what do you do when you don't have enough letters and what you have is this? You have these stragglers. What do you do with this? Well, first of all, this is another hot mess, so this is in my pile to do over, okay? But I have used a lot of this because I just recently used it on about 3 layouts. So what do you do when you have these stragglers? What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to have listed below, I'm going to have a video, it is by Swann, and I have her permission to share this, that you absolutely, I will have it listed below, and look on Swann, and she has a video where she went into detail about how she will take letters and manipulate them to make other letters that she needs. She went into such a great detail and did a great video. So I'm just going to reference you to watch hers, and she gave you some really good ideas, because you know, you can take an E and make it into a 3, or a 3 into an E, and take an IH and turn it into an I, or take a Z and turn it into 1. You can do all those things, okay? But Sarah shows it in good detail, so I will just reference that video to you. It'll be listed below. And then the second thing I want to recommend is, when you have these stragglers, is that there is a website called wordsolver.net, and I'll have it linked below. But again, it's called Word Solver, and then you would put in the letters that you have, and then it'll come up with words for you. I mean, how simple is that? Now, this wordsolver.net recently did like an upgrade some time ago, so there's an old version too. So if you don't like the new version, look to the menu on the right at the bottom, and it'll say old version, and you can click on that, okay? I'm old school, so sometimes I like the old version better than the new. So if you have this, and you're like, well, what can I make from it? Just put in those letters in that wordsolver.net, and it's like a little generator. You put in the letters and it'll generate some words for you, okay? So I will have that linked below. It's a nice little shortcut to have on your desk when you're working on a title, okay? And then what you can do is that once you put in those letters, and you come up with some words, what you can do then is write them down or print it out and stick it in that bag, and then you don't have to keep doing it every time you want to use that. Okay. Now, the third tip, as far as when you have these stragglers and you maybe don't have enough, you can't manipulate them, you don't want to come up with some words, what do you do now? Okay, because this is, what are you going to do? Okay, I want to suggest there's a YouTube series on here, and it's by a YouTube gal named Claire, and her channel is called Scrappy Nerd UK. She has an amazing thicker / alpha series on here on YouTube, and she's working on it currently. She has some amazing and wonderful ideas for leftover alphas or things that maybe you don't like, or leftover thickers, or you got some stragglers. I can't recommend that series enough, and I will have Claire's YouTube channel linked below. She's absolutely a fabulous scrapbooker, has amazing ideas, so I can't recommend that enough. So there's 3 solutions, okay? Either you manipulate them or put them into a word generator, see what other new words you can come up with, or head over to Claire's series and she will give you some ideas for these, because she has, I think she's on 16 or 17 ideas already. Yeah, she's got it all going on. Claire is doing a very good job with that series, so I will recommend that. So that's 3 ways you can get these stragglers in. Okay, so now I think that's all I wanted to share as far as this. Okay, so now what I wanted to ask is, what do you use to organize your thickers? Do you have any tips and tricks? Do you know of any other place where we can go to learn how to use thickers in another way? What to do with our stragglers? Is there a container that's working really well for you and it's affordable? Please share all of that below so we can learn too, because that's what this is all about, learning and sharing with each other. Okay, now if you are organizing your thickers and you came up with a good way and you have some ideas and you want to share it on Instagram, just use hashtag RTS Scrapbooking and people will see that, because people are enjoying using that hashtag RTS Scrapbooking on Instagram. Okay, now all of the links will be below with everything I chit-chatted, everything I showed, the bins and the bags and Claire's YouTube series and all things like that. It'll all be linked below. And I think that's all I have today for organizing thickers. Okay, so that means come back to RTS. You never know what we're going to learn. Bye!